Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Math Lesson 31. Today we're taking a break from the numerical concepts, stepping back towards geometry and discussing pairs of lines and angles. So let's see what we got going on today. So when lines touch, we say that they intersect. That's a geometry term that simply means you got two or more lines, rays, or segments that touch in some spot. And if we draw two lines, you remember lines go on for infinity in either direction. They will either intersect or touch at some point or not at all. Lines that go the same direction and never intersect are called parallel lines. And they have some descriptions and pictures on page 193 of your book. You can always go back and reference. But I want to talk a little bit about the intersecting lines because there's only one picture and kids sometimes get confused. It doesn't have anything to do with what the picture shows you. It just is one example of how they could touch. Here they're touching and intersecting. Here they're touching or intersecting. And I drew one example here. Right now, they're not touching or intersecting. If you remember, lines go on for infinity. So eventually, this one would touch and intersect, right? Okay, let's see what else. When lines do intersect or touch, they're described as either perpendicular or oblique. Those are also on page 193 of your book. So we got done discussing when lines do touch. Now we got two more categories. If they touch and form a right angle, which is 90 degrees, they are called perpendicular. Here I have a right angle made out of two intersecting rays. They touch and form a 90-degree angle, so they're considered to be perpendicular. But that's not the only story. It's just not looking like this. Here I have three lines that intersect and form 8 different 90-degree angles, right? It's all about this corner. If it looks like the square end of a table, it's a 90-degree angle. Over here for oblique lines, oblique simply means that they touch but don't form right angles. There's many different ways lines can touch. All oblique means is they touch and don't form a right angle. So when you do have right angles, they're two lines, segments, or rays that intersect or touch and form a 90-degree angle. But we also have two other types of angles, either obtuse or acute. We'll start off talking about obtuse. That just means if you use this bottom ray and this red one, it simply means it's larger than 90 degrees. That could be obtuse, that could be obtuse, that could be obtuse, that could be obtuse. It simply means more than 90 degrees. And we have what's called acute angles. And I always think of them as a cute little angle. And again, if I use this bottom ray and I'll use this top blue ray, it simply means that it's less than 90 degrees. So that's acute, that's acute, that's acute, that can be acute. Okay, think you got it? Hopefully, if you didn't, if you're a little sleepy and wasn't listening to what I just got done saying, you had better hit rewind. All right, so let's start off. They're going to ask you things like which angle appears to be a right angle. And we just got done saying right angle is the one that intersects and forms a square 90-degree corner. So which angle appears to be a right angle? It is right there. Here they're asking us to draw a pair. Make sure you know how many are in a pair. A pair means two. So they want you to draw a pair of parallel line segments. If you have trouble keeping track of segments, rays, and lines, we talked about that in an earlier lesson, right? So you got to draw two that are parallel and make sure they are segments. So I'm going to draw a segment, and then I'm going to go and just simply draw another segment, and I'm going to make sure that they are parallel to the best of my abilities. They would never, ever, ever touch, no matter which way I put them, right? Here we have draw a pair. Again, a pair means two of perpendicular, so I want to make sure that they touch and form a right angle, and I have to make sure that I'm using lines this time. So when I draw perpendicular, I normally like going straight up vertically, and I like going straight across horizontally, and I have to make sure that they are lines. It can look many, many different ways. This is kind of subjective. What you need to make sure is that you have two for a pair, that they are perpendicular, and that you are using lines. On this one, draw a pair of oblique rays. So again, a pair means two. Oblique means that they are going to touch, but they're going to touch in such a way that they are not making right angles. And this time, I'm going to use rays. So I'm going to start off making one ray. He only has an arrow on one side. And I'm going to make sure that the next one, when he intersects or touches, does not form a right angle at all. There's many, many ways to do this. What you need to focus on that there's two, they're oblique, they touch and don't make any right angles, and I used rays. Here we have draw an acute angle, an acute little angle. And remember, straight up and down and straight across is right. So if I make an acute little angle, I better make sure that he is smaller than 90 degrees. If I took this one straight up and straight down, that would have been 90 degrees, right? So any angle I draw has to be smaller. Here they want us to draw an obtuse angle. Well, obtuse simply means that it's larger than 90 degrees, right? So I'll still go straight across horizontally. If I would have taken it straight up, that would have been my 90 degrees, correct? So obtuse is larger than 90 degrees. Draw a right angle. That one means I am drawing it 90 degrees. So to the best of your abilities, which is kind of tough to do on a laptop, make sure you get one going straight up vertically and straight across horizontally to represent a right angle. Here they're going to ask us to label each or describe each angle shown as right, obtuse, or acute. So take a look at this one right here. He looks to be less than 90 degrees, so he is our acute little angle. This guy over here, he appears to be more than 90 degrees. He's our obtuse angle. This guy here with a segment going straight up vertically and another one that intersects going straight across horizontally, he's my right angle, right? And this one here that looks like a segment can also be described as a straight angle. Pretty easy to keep track of there. He is just straight. And that is the end. I don't think you're probably going to need a scratch piece of paper for the Socrative quiz, but you are probably going to want your book opened up to page 193 so you can reference all this. And good luck on your secretive quiz.